topic 2 of the 3 that we came up with tonight. And this isn't going to be me playing devil's advocate a little bit, because in Sir Heroscape's video, he made a very interesting point. And so we're gonna go with this for a second. And so one of the things that Sir Heroscape said near the end of his video, I believe, was his guess, his prediction, that the Age of Annihilation that Renegade is releasing could be a self-contained game outside of the Heroscape core game. And he gave a good example of what he meant when he says a Heroscape core game. Like Heroscape core game is just, you know, class escape, could have C3V in there, but basically your OG Heroscape miniatures. And then outside of that core could be Arena of the Planeswalkers, Marvelscape, stuff like that, to where those aren't usually integrated in with Corescape because they don't mix well. You know, they don't do well. So it is Sir Heroscape's prediction or guess that maybe what Renegade is doing is having AoA stuff just synergize with AoA stuff and it be its own core game, and not synergizing with any of the class escape or anything like that. So now the reason why I say play devil's advocate here is that if that is Renegade's case, at least for some of it, it's definitely a business decision. It would be, I mean, again, this is all based off rumors and hearsay, but as far as a business decision goes, I can kind of understand that if they want AoA functioning as a core game right away, to just isolate it in its own pocket. That is a business decision. Is it the best business decision? I don't know. But I can see from that perspective, if that's the case, one of the reasons that they do it. I just wish they were a bit more clear on it. But that's point 3. So hold on one second. So the question I want to ask you guys: what do you think about this? If this is the case, and I understand why it would make people upset. You know, then nothing merges with synergizes with class escape. But if this is the case, and I'll start first with Joe. What do you think about this perspective? Good or bad? If this is one of the reasons, I mean, it doesn't mean Renegade's doing everything right or wrong. But and Justin's saying I've always combined Marvel with Classic. Okay, exception. But Joe, what do you think? What do you think about this?
Yeah. I mean, look, we kind of already do this stuff now. So it's not a huge deal if everything's, you know, separated. It all comes down to is their Age of Annihilation gonna function and be fun? You know, like if I just go and play with Marvel right now, I'm gonna have a lot of fun. You know, like I want to play as, you know, I want to do like a Spider-Man versus Venom match, and just throw a bunch of other units in there, you know, for fun. Like as Justin was saying, it's like I always play with Marvel. Awesome. You know, I never knew about anyone playing with the Planeswalkers with Heroscape. I've always wanted to do that. I just never put a thought to it.
Yeah,
to actually
there's a whole
give it a shot.
For it. I know.
Yeah,
which was crazy when I found out.
Hopefully I'll look into that this year. So, you know, as long as it's fun, that's great. You know, that's good. But yeah, it just has to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a tough business decision call, and Rye Guy is saying AoA as a branch doesn't make much sense from a business standpoint, in my opinion. Arena of the Planeswalkers and Marvel were the same, and they weren't very successful, even with massive IPs behind them. Yeah, I think that's a valid point when it comes to that as well. Jason, what do you think about this? Like having AoA as its own core game? Because I mean, you build your own like miniature like war games when it comes to space combat. What do you think about that?
There is a good chance they're going to go that route, or the very least, if it is kind of compatible with Classic Escape, it's not. They're not going to like I say. They're not going to actually try it out because here's the financial problem they have. Renegade's selling you a game. Renegade wants you to buy game products from them. If you go online and buy some old Heroscape guy on eBay, not only is Renegade not getting a single penny of that, you have new players that are taking their gaming budget that could be going to Renegade is now going to some random person. And that's going to obviously cause potential financial problems for Renegade going forward. So as much as you want these guys to be fighting Age of Annihilation people, there's no financial incentive right now for Renegade to do that. Absolutely none, and it's even competitive to them. So yeah. So unless there's some way for, Renegade to start selling old stuff, which they're not going to do because there's a lot of reasons why they wouldn't do that right now. Right. I don't think there is much of a business interest they have to make the games compatible.
Yeah,
at least make a serious effort to make them compatible.
It's very tough on that point. Yeah.
What I would think they're more likely to do is make Class Escape just kind of not necessarily intentionally trying to make it compatible. It maybe works, maybe it doesn't. But when you get to the competitive play scene, it's going to be Age of Annihilation only for official competitive tournaments. They may have like an unlimited or extended universe thing where you bring the old stuff into it. But for your typical competitive stuff going forward, it's probably going to be Age of Annihilation only.
Now, and with that being said, would that mean that when we see these two waves on March 1st, could it be possible, and I'll throw this to you, Josiah, would it be possible then that we're probably might see, if they're looking to do tournaments come August, these first two waves, they might be a lot of miniatures. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think it's just good to get in your mind that, Heroscape was a game that was released a long time ago, and the figures aren't readily available. I think Renegade is focused more on a competitive landscape.
Thank you for making me feel my age, by the way.
But yeah, I mean, you gotta think, we've been playing it, but for a company to actually produce and maintain the IP, it's been over a decade for this. It's the closest thing I can honestly think of is Star Wars. They made the original trilogy. There was like a 20-30 year gap. Then they made the prequels, which everyone kind of didn't like at the time because it was so different. Give it 20 years, people kind of love the prequels now. So it's kind of there's definitely a generational gap. There's definitely a business gap, different companies. So I don't have a problem with them not including Original Escape. I think that's to be expected. I think in the future they explore some creative ideas to bring some things at, but it definitely you need to determine where are we in the reboots to revision kind of category. Are we in a total reboot? Are we starting Heroscape over from scratch? Are we kind of like in a partial reboot where there's the lore still exists but it's different now? Or are we just kind of picking up right where we left off, So when Marvel happened, D&D happened, maybe we won't talk about that. and then now we're going to do, Age of Annihilation. After that, we're going to do Ragnarok, and then we're going to do New Beginning. Are we going to continue the story, or are we starting just completely over? Is what I'm more interested in.
The lore side, and we'll probably get into that on another podcast too. Guy also says, like Dysel said, you can have both. Avalon Hill hit the balance. No reason to abandon the old community for an amorphous new player base that doesn't actually exist yet. And with that, Jeremy, what do you think about that? I mean, can there a balance be made? Do you think it's too late? I mean, it's kind of a mess if everything is how it seems.
Because the thing is, like, I was genuinely under the impression they were just going to release AoA as it was.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the thing is, like, we already have these 30 cards, and if they're planning on changing things, that means those 30 cards are obsolete. So then we're going to end up having to figure out what do you prefer when you're playing? Do you want the original AoA version that was released, or do you want the Renegade version of the same character? Because they have the STLs for all those characters, right? And they told us that all of those will be released at some point. So with different powers, different abilities, and then the point, the suggestion out there that it's going to be an entirely separate game, it's just like, I don't know. The whole thing makes me nervous. I want to give them a chance as a company, especially with how much effort they've put out there. But at the same time, it's like, man, March 1st better be the best. Like, just there's gonna be they got so much to present on March 1st to get kind of regain that like footing that I prior to what I thought was when they were just gonna release it, and then that was it, and then they would start bringing their own stuff. If they're already starting now with making their own stuff with what they were given, then it's just gonna be like, okay, let's, we all were looking forward to what Avalon Hill had planned. What are you going to introduce that will be, I guess either equal or comparable or better than what Avalon Hill had planned? That is now what they have to do, is somehow improve on the design if that's what they're trying, or just show that what they have envisioned is much better. And then it's like, that's a big task. Are you sure you want to do that? Like, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm hoping there's lots of discussions going on right now, like about the subject.
Right. And
so curious.
Yeah. Right guy is also saying, maybe I'm jaded, but I don't think it's a business decision. I think it's a lack of skill, experience, and or management that they can't satisfy the old and new player bases at the same time. And look, we're gonna get into point 3 in a second, but I mean, I think looking at it, when March 1st shows up, and that, I mean, I know for sure that I'm gonna get this stuff just to see how it plays, just to see how it works. If it's not like incredibly obvious come March 1st that, oh my goodness, this looks like a disaster. If there's anything but that going on that day, I'm gonna get this stuff, see how it plays. If it's even close to what it should be, if there's some headaches, then okay, fine. But if it's still playable, then okay. I'd rather do the scrutinizing than to see the absolute results of things. And again, we're speculating, again, off a rumor. We're not 100% sure on this, but it's very close. But yeah, I think there is a lot of things that Renegade needs to show in order to build trust back, even if there was trust in the first place. And
being a Heroscape fan, you've have a lot of disappointment from corporate companies. We've been kind of thrown around a lot, so Renegade is getting a lot of that built up resentment and hate, so that we've stored for a decade, from manager to manager to manager to manager. So they really need to work on I hope they just realize that we need to set a level of goodwill once we get going. We need to hit run in, interact with the community, really get down on their level and say, hey, sorry we had to be quiet for a year. We just want to make sure everything is, here we go. This is Heroscape. It's awesome. Let's play this game, is what I'm hoping. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt until I see a card. If it's if they're terrible, I'll rip into them. But for now, there's nothing to talk. There's just all. We're making our own news because they don't have any.
And this will lead us into point 3. And I'll just to finish off point 2 though. For me personally, no matter what happens, it's just going to be fun source material for whatever I do for Tales of Valhalla, Aftermath Chronicles seasons 4, 5, 6, and beyond. So I'm it's going to be fun no matter what.